All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second annual installment of the LSO road trip, where we visit communities across Ontario to discuss what's happening in the life sciences industry in our own backyards. This is also Global Biotech Week, and you can visit Biotech Canada's website under the About tab to learn more about other events happening throughout this week. I'd also encourage you all to visit our virtual exhibitor booths on the Feedloop platform. And in fact, we're going to be giving out a $250 gift card at the end of this week. And the way you enter into that draw is by visiting our exhibitors and hitting the request information from our exhibitors. And then you will be entered into a draw. And there'll be one draw per request. The winner will be notified by email once that draw has taken place. I'd also encourage you all to take advantage of the virtual networking function on the Feedloop platform after this session. And so if you go into the networking tab and hit the groups, you'll be entered into a virtual networking group. Just going to change my background screen here for a moment in recognition that today is the first ever National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. I would encourage you all to take some time to acknowledge Canada's Indigenous cultures and our shared histories, both good and bad, in order to chart a path for a better future together in our beautiful land. And Jackie's going to actually provide us the land acknowledgement coming from Mississauga this morning, and I'm located in the same spot. So she's going to do that for us as part of her presentation. And as I mentioned, this is our fourth stop on our road trip, and it is Mississauga, Ontario, my hometown. So very pleased to be joined by Jackie O'Connor, the Life Sciences Business Consultant for the City of Mississauga Economic Development Office. Jackie has been working side by side with us here at LSO for a number of years now. She's been a great partner. We've been also most recently working on an initiative around the Inclusive Life Sciences Collaboration, which is committed to inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility within the life sciences industry. So she's been an integral part of that group as well. So with that introduction, Jackie, over to you.
Thanks, Jason. I'm just going to share my screen with everyone. Can you just confirm that you can see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for the introduction, Jason. I'm delighted to be here today and have the opportunity to share some insights and exciting developments that are happening in Mississauga's life sciences sector. As a quick introduction again, I'm the Life Sciences Business Consultant for the City of Mississauga's Economic Development Office, and my role is to support the growth and success of our life sciences sector. So I'll touch on this during my presentation today, but mainly I assist new or existing businesses that are making investments in Mississauga. This might include facilitating introductions to service providers, supporting site selection, or helping navigate municipal permitting processes. But I also work directly with our companies and other relevant stakeholders in several areas, including workforce development and advocacy, and encouraging stakeholder connections to improve business outcomes. Today, I plan to share with you how Mississauga has grown to become a leading Canadian life sciences hub, what our sector looks like today, and the growth that we continue to experience. However, as Jason mentioned, before we move forward, I would like to note that the City of Mississauga recognizes today as a National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. I'm wearing orange to symbolize and acknowledge my solidarity with the residential school survivors. I would also like to acknowledge the treaty and traditional territory of the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we're on today. The City of Mississauga is located in the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas, the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat. And the City of Mississauga is within Treaties 14, 19, 22, and 23. There we go. So in order to appreciate the growth that we've seen in Mississauga, I think it's important to set some perspective and start at the beginning. Mississauga as a city is relatively young. We've only been a city for the past 47 years. But as you can clearly see in these photos, there's been significant transformation in the past 4 decades. Mississauga's life sciences cluster actually started in the 1960s when the first large pharmaceutical company, AstraZeneca, opened up a manufacturing facility in the fields that you see in this first photo. In the years following, Mississauga was rich with available lands that were ripe for development, and several other life sciences companies began opening operations in our city, including GSK and Abbott. Over the years, as these lands were developed, the city changed into the urban environment that you know and see today. And our city continues to grow and transform, so does our life sciences sector. Sorry, I'm having some challenges with moving through my slides. Today, Mississauga is home to a large and vibrant life sciences sector. We attract global companies and a highly skilled and talented workforce from around the world. Our city is Canada's second largest life sciences cluster in terms of employment. We support more than 25,000 jobs. And the breadth of and diversity of our more than 470 life sciences companies is significant. Mississauga is home to smaller startups and large multinational enterprises. In a sector that's dominated largely by smaller companies that only employ 10 to 25 people, it's unique that we are actually a leading location for larger companies that employ over 100 people. But this breadth and diversity of our companies expands beyond just their size to the different types of life sciences companies and their operations. Some regions have developed areas of expertise that complement their inherent strengths. We've heard from some already this week, including Niagara, that specializes in agriculture and horticulture. And then just yesterday, Sarnia discussed their expertise in the bioindustrial space. Mississauga's life sciences cluster has evolved largely from initially being a pharmaceutical hub into a very diverse cluster of subsectors. We have pharmaceutical companies, biotechnology companies, medical device, digital health, and even agribio companies like LSO's Company of the Year award winner, Vive Crop Protection, who develop organic and sustainable pesticides. And these companies vary in their operations. We have a strong GMP manufacturing footprint with companies like Resilience, Biotechnologies, Bora Pharmaceutical, and Contract Pharmaceuticals. Companies that are focused on R&D like BioLab, and over 66 life sciences corporate head office locations. This sector is important to Mississauga. It's clear why. Our life sciences companies make significant societal and economic contributions to our city. They account for $2.7 billion of the city's gross domestic product and provide substantial philanthropic support to our community, both in donations, volunteers, and charitable giving. And we saw this as our companies stepped up during the COVID pandemic to provide support. Another recent example being Novo Nordisk's $20 million investment to establish the Novo Nordisk Network for Healthy Populations at the University of Toronto Mississauga campus. This network will focus on new ways to support healthier urban populations, drawing on UFT's leading experience in public health and education programs to fight the global fight against diabetes and other serious chronic illnesses. So for these reasons, our mayor and council and city have been valuing and committing to supporting the life sciences sector for years to ensure that it thrives. But it's really been within the last decade that they've committed with even greater intention. So back in 2017, council endorsed the Mississauga Life Sciences Cluster Strategy. And this is a 5-year strategy recognizing the sector's significant contribution and future potential to our economic growth and prosperity. Mississauga was the first city and remains the only Canadian city to have a strategy of this kind. It was developed through extensive stakeholder engagement and consultation in order to identify opportunities to strengthen our sector and ultimately ensure that Mississauga is a leading Canadian life sciences hub. So the strategy is working. We've seen significant growth over the past 4 years since it was implemented, both in employment and in the number of businesses that are investing in our city. And you can see this on the first 2 points in this presentation graph here. But COVID has further contributed and accelerated this growth. Between 2019 and 2020, we saw a 12.1% increase in economic output from the life sciences sector in Mississauga, which is quite significant when you consider that the rest of the economy at this time was declining by about 7.8%. Recent new investments further demonstrate this increased activity. So in the past 12 months alone, Mississauga has seen nearly $1 billion of new investment. And these investments have included a few notable ones that I'm sure you'll recognize. Roche's establishment of a new global pharma technical operation at their Mississauga headquarters. More recently, the Canadian government's investment to modernize and expand commercial scale biomanufacturing capacity at Resilience Biotechnologies facility at their Mississauga headquarters. However, we can't forget the smaller companies with smaller investments that are also contributing to this growth. Earlier this year, my team and I worked with a company called GenSeq Toronto, a genomic sequencing technology company, to expand their current operations by building a clinical testing laboratory in Mississauga. GenSeq has secured approximately $7 million to purchase, retrofit, and set up a laboratory facility, which will create up to 30 new jobs over the next 3 years. So if we continue on this path, Mississauga could see close to 50 new businesses and over 3,000 highly skilled jobs added to our local economy over the next 4 years. Initially, it may have been our available land that attracted the first few companies to Mississauga, but there are a few reasons that these companies choose to stay and continue to locate here. Mainly, Mississauga has a great location, a robust infrastructure to assist with the mobility of both goods and people, and top talent. Mississauga's life sciences companies are strategically located within the GTA, or what I've heard some others calling Southern Ontario's life sciences corridor. We have neighbors like McMaster Innovation Park to the west and Mars Discovery District to the east, providing relatively quick and easy access to a variety of different partners from the regional ecosystem. As an example, this is one of the reasons that a company called Epineuron chose to locate in Mississauga. Epineuron is a medical device company developing new technology for peripheral nerve repair and regeneration. Their office in Mississauga is in the Airport Corporate Center, near one of their investors, Baylis Medical, and a short drive from other partners, including hospitals in Hamilton, where they've launched multi-center clinical trial pilots. But companies in Mississauga are not only in close proximity to regional partners, they also are in a great location to access global markets. We're only a 90-minute drive to the US border, and we are home to Canada's largest airport, which has definitely helped attract a lot of large multinational companies over the years. The robust infrastructure surrounding the airport supports strong logistics and supply chains, which is critical for many of our manufacturing companies and also for those that rely on international distribution like Baylis Medical. This might explain why there's actually such a high concentration of life sciences companies along the Highway 403 corridor, and particularly in Airport Corporate Center. The infrastructure in Mississauga, though, is critical not only for the movement of goods, but also for our human capital. We may have once been known as a bedroom community, but that time is long gone. Mississauga draws people in from around the region every day to work in our city. And accessible and reliable transit is necessary for the attraction and the retention of this talent. The city recognizes this, and we are continually investing in building an integrated transit system to create greater mobility, both locally within our city, but also to surrounding regions. We are looking forward to the completion of the light rail transit that will bring fast, reliable, and rapid transit across Mississauga and Brampton. And the city also continues to advocate strongly for a two-way all-day Go service on the Milton line, which directly connects downtown Toronto to Meadowvale, also known as Pill Hill, where there's also a strong concentration of our life sciences companies. I mentioned that we attract talent from around the GTA to work in Mississauga, but we also develop and nurture talent right here in our city. One of Mississauga's great assets is the University of Toronto Mississauga campus and its specialized life sciences research and programming. The Institute for Management and Innovation at UTM is home to the M-Biotech program, which is in its 20th anniversary year this year. And this program was one of the first of its kind to incorporate both science and business, along with an 8-month work experience term. And this program is highly regarded among industry. Some of our Mississauga-based companies, including GSK, AstraZeneca, and Amgen, hire students directly from this program. In fact, a majority of graduating students actually end up staying and working in Mississauga after graduation. UTM continues to explore new ways to develop programming to keep up with industry's needs. As an example, a few years ago, they launched a new digital health concentration within the M-Biotech program. The digital health stream was created to prepare graduates for the emerging digital revolution in healthcare. There was an increasingly widespread call from both alumni and industry partners for a degree focusing on the need for more education on big data analysis and machine learning tools within the healthcare space. But I also want to touch on the fact that UTM has other assets, including the Mississauga Academy of Medicine, which specializes in training family medicine and community-based primary care physicians. And then, of course, the Center of Medicinal Chemistry, which focuses on the development of new drugs targeting cancer and other diseases. So changing directions, I want to touch again on Mississauga's life sciences strategy and some of the past and current initiatives supporting industry. Referring back to the strategy, one of the key components was to ensure that we were working directly with industry and responding to their needs and interests. So in 2018, we established the Mississauga Life Sciences Consortium, which is a group of exceptional leaders from world-renowned life sciences companies based in Mississauga, who provide the city with advice and direction to facilitate our sector's growth and development. Over the past few years, with support from and collaboration from our mayor and other industry stakeholders, including Life Sciences Ontario and our Mississauga Board of Trade, we've met with this group several times to address a variety of important topics. Before COVID thrust the life sciences sector into the spotlight, we arranged meetings with higher levels of government to elevate awareness of the importance of the life sciences sector. We also raised concerns over the implementation of new PMPRB regulations and discussed the ever-changing labor market requirements. While it is no surprise that talent is critical for companies, consortium members quickly identified that accessing the right talent to meet their transforming needs and remain globally competitive is a top priority. Knowing this, our Economic Development Office works hard to ensure that we sustain a robust talent pipeline by forming connections between our companies, post-secondary institutions, and workforce development groups. I'd like to share an example of some of this work with you. So during a Mississauga organized and hosted event back in 2018, our Mississauga business leaders spoke directly to post-secondary institutions and provided insights on existing skills gaps in the market. This meeting identified a need for sector stakeholders to collaborate more to ensure better labor market alignment. And following feedback from this initial meeting, the City of Mississauga hosted a half-day working session called Focus on Talent in 2019. We brought together stakeholders from across the province, from all the way from Windsor to Kingston, to network and discuss the development of new programming that addresses industry's needs. Some outcomes from this meeting included new connections that were made between employers, students, and academic institutions. And these events also led to the successful development and launch, or contributed to the successful and development launch of a new executive certificate at UTM called the Pharmaceutical Challenges and Opportunities. This program is now in its second year and provides students with an understanding of the journey of medicine from discovery through the regulatory process, gaining access to the Canadian market, and all of the follow-up activities related to launching drugs, including marketing and the sales process. So, speaking of the importance of talent, businesses are recognizing more now than ever that creating inclusive organizational cultures will help them attract talent and drive better business outcomes. Increasingly, companies are looking to evaluate their cultures and practices concerning equity, diversity, and inclusion, and they're becoming more intentional and committed to advancing change. Also, with the life sciences sector growing rapidly, it's even more imperative that as an industry, we're focused on inclusive growth so that we are building workforces that are representative of our diverse communities. So earlier this year, seeing our business's leadership and commitment to advancing equity, diversity, and inclusion, the City of Mississauga and the Healthcare Businesswomen's Association founded the Equity and Diversity Collaborative. Our 17 founding member organizations are working towards a goal of gender parity and significant representation of other underrepresented groups across their organizations and on their boards. And this goal is closely aligned with ISED's 50-30 challenge. The collaborative serves as a forum for companies to connect, share best practices, and learn from one another. Working together through industry-wide collaboration has proven successful elsewhere, leading to faster change and greater impact. At the beginning of every year, the collaborative sets a strategic direction and determines its priorities. So for this initial year, the group chose to focus on improving recruitment, hiring, and promotion practices. And throughout the year, a group of company ambassadors meets, and over a series of workshops that we've designed as sprints, we take a deep dive into these identified priorities and share and create solutions to implement within the workplace. The City of Mississauga and HBA play a role in facilitating this group and organizing various events and activities to support our members' efforts. Our work is already bearing some fruit. For example, one collaborative member has chosen to revamp its job descriptions after a workshop revealed that various people within their organization perceived them quite differently. So it's great to see some of this action already taking place. And we're coming to the end of the presentation. I've highlighted a few of the different ways that we work directly with industry, but there is a team that goes far beyond just me, that is resourced to support our existing businesses in their growth here, as well as attract new businesses to Mississauga. Additionally, we will be soon launching the Mississauga Innovation Hub, and we'll have a lot more dedicated scale-up programming. Data has shown that we may not be a leader in startup activity, but certainly as companies are ready to scale and grow in Mississauga, it's a very attractive place for many of the reasons that I highlighted today. So we will soon have even more additional supports for these businesses. And we will continue to lead efforts to facilitate an open and nurturing business environment that encourages connections, both locally within our city, but also regionally with our partners. And with that, I will hand it back over to you, Jason.
Thank you, Jackie. That was a great presentation. And for those of you participating and viewing, if you have questions, please do feel free to enter those into the Q&A. Jackie, maybe I'll kick things off and just, I was looking at those initial photos you were showing of, back in 1960, the farmland that was at the center of Mississauga. Now, I wasn't around in 1960, but even during my own lifetime, I've seen some phenomenal changes happen in Mississauga. I even think back to, the building of the GSK site, that was really just empty land at that time. that facility was built, and then all around it now is really has been built up also in that area. So, you know, your photos kind of make us observe that, you know, this greenfield opportunities that was an attraction to many companies initially, there's less of that available now in Mississauga. So has the strategy changed for Mississauga in terms of how they attract companies and how they manage the diminishing availability of green space?
Yeah, no, thanks, Jason. Those first photos, I love beginning with that slide because it really does kind of set some perspective of just how much the city has transformed over these years. And you know, there are still land opportunities available, albeit they're very expensive these days too. But companies are looking to be more creative. So as you mentioned, gone are the days of, you know, sprawling manufacturing plants like GSK's facility out in Meadowvale. But a good example would be Resilience Biotechnologies, whose proposed expansion is actually on their existing site. So companies are looking to expand up instead of out, which is one, you know, option for some companies. Others are looking at retrofitting existing buildings to meet their needs. So some companies have used roof lifters to increase ceiling heights to accommodate their needs, maybe as a laboratory facility. As far as the city, it's obviously a key priority for us to support our key sectors. So one of the things that we're looking at is supporting non-traditional use plans for our downtown core, as an example, which would include, be able to include life sciences facilities. So we're supporting that activity and trying to influence that. And then there's also some other unique opportunities coming down the pipeline. So the city actually has some owned land assets that are designated for innovation by the lake, and life sciences will be included as a potential option for this site.
And we had a question come in the Q&A about the Innovation Hub. And is that physical space with resources that anyone can connect with, or is it, and I think you mentioned this is more than just life sciences, correct? But there would be some life sciences specific space there as well?
Yes, so it is designed for all of our businesses. It's not specifically a life sciences. However, of course, we always try and focus to support our key sectors. It is a physical space that will be opening soon. I can provide some more information on that, but I would likely defer to my colleagues. So if there's some questions on that related to the Innovation Hub, I'd be happy to connect with anyone and point them to the right person to speak with about it.
Great. And there was another really good question that came in. You know, obviously over that time period, Mississauga, you know, has been branded, you know, Pill Hill for, you know, its commitment to the life sciences sector and growing this industry here in the city. Would you have any advice, you know, given the experience and the tremendous growth of the life sciences sector here in Mississauga to other jurisdictions that are maybe a little bit further behind, but have that same level of desire and commitment to growing their life sciences industry? What was the secret of Mississauga's success?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I think as I demonstrated in the presentation, the first few companies were kind of a catalyst for our growth. We had some kind of natural inherent strengths that initiated the development years ago, which was available land. And of course, some of our assets being that were located close to the airport. But as I mentioned, the city, our mayor, you know, we've always been supportive of the sector. So I think just, you know, our intention behind really being connected with industry and understanding how we can support their businesses has allowed us to take a focused approach to growing the sector. I don't know if that's the most helpful answer, but I do think that set Mississauga apart is just really great intention behind the work that we're doing.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And maybe if I could add to that, Jackie, from my own observation of working with the city over a number of decades now, the one thing that
Yeah.
really stands out for me is the fact that the city is activist with the industry. So, they're not just passive supporters. They have, raised their voice on industry issues like PMPRB and have supported throughout the years, the needs of the industry have, gone to bat for us at the federal level, the provincial level, and that has really stood out, I think, to many stakeholders in this space. So they're really true partners and friends to the life sciences sector. And I think I can speak on behalf of many of us to say that we really appreciate the fact that the city has been so activist in their relationship and partnership with life sciences.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Jason.
So thanks, Jackie. Appreciate that. I see we're at time. So I've got a few announcements. I'm just asking you to stop sharing your screen and Brian will pull up our upcoming events. And for those of you on the line, just a reminder, please visit our exhibitor booths and hit the request for information button so that you can be entered into our draw for $250. And also please use the virtual networking functions on the FeedLoop platform as well afterwards. Our awards presentations coming up. Jackie mentioned our Company of the Year award that's going to be presented on October 14th. And so nice plug for Vive Crop Science there. Registration is still open, so still time to register for this event and join us on October 14th. Our final day of our LSO road trip around the province is going to be Health Sciences North in the Greater Sudbury area tomorrow. So please join us. First day of October too. So please join us for that as we wrap up our second ever road trip around Ontario. And finally, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors, our platinum sponsors listed here, our gold sponsors, and of course, our silver sponsors. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us and offering your support to these events. We couldn't do these events without the support of our members and our sponsors. So sincere thank you once again to them and to all of you for joining us today. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning as we wrap up the road trip. Take care, everyone.